This is Brandon Lozano, and you're watching CryptoTraveler.
You know what? I gotta double check. Just make sure it's recording.
That would be horrible.
That would suck. What's up, everyone? It's Mike Ruiz. I'm here today in Miami, Florida, and I'm hanging out with a good friend of mine, Brandon Lozano.
How's it going?
For sure. Everything's going good. So, hey, welcome to CryptoTraveler. And what's up, Brandon?
Not much. I'm trying to bear this cold weather here in
Yeah.
Miami. It's like 70 degrees. Got a sweatshirt on, but pretty decent view here, so not too bad.
Yeah, the view's pretty sick, actually, of downtown Miami. So, B, let's talk. What do you do?
I go to school right now.
Uh-huh.
I go to school at USC in California. Second year there.
Uh-huh.
But I grew up here in Miami. Obviously, I met playing volleyball, so. But yeah, I just recently got into the crypto world about 6-7 months ago, thanks to you.
Yeah.
And just kind of fell in love with it, got infatuated by it, something I was really excited about. And just kind of from there on, just fell down the rabbit hole. Just seeing all the different use cases, and not even in the crypto side, but also the blockchain side. And got out to USC and helped start a club there, crypto club, just to kind of spread the word. And
How's that going?
it's great. I mean, in the beginning, it was tough to gain interest. It wasn't something that was a hot word yet, but now it's a buzzword that everybody knows about. I mean, we went from having like 4 people at our first meeting to we ended up merging with another club, and now we have like 50 people interested. So
Wow. So
really
yeah,
cool.
I mean, you've grown by tenfold, right? Like, almost.
Easily,
like,
yeah.
So, like in general on the campus, are people like talking about Bitcoin or
Yeah, so
cryptocurrencies?
at first it wasn't anything crazy. It was like, actually the kid I started the club with, I got in contact with him because we were in class together, in a marketing class. And I saw him in front of me on Bittrex, and I was like, what is going on? So I hit him up, and he didn't know too much at the time, but I kind of explained some stuff to him, and then now, I go to the library and I look and I see people on Coinbase on their computers.
Yeah. So like Coinbase was basically the #1 downloaded app for like iPhone.
Yeah,
For the
incredible.
Apple Store.
Incredible.
Yeah. So, and
I think it's a lot of kids our age.
yeah.
Most definitely. It's like, especially on Facebook, like the most posts I see are from kids.
So what
I
do you
went to high
think?
school with.
Do you so are they coming in? These kids in college, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people in your cryptocurrency club, are they coming in like interested about the technology or interested about kind of the philosophy behind some of these projects and what they're trying to accomplish, or are a lot of them attracted to the gains and the?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have like a bit of a responsibility because what brings most people in, not just kids my age, but everybody, is the gains, is the currency part and the ability to make a lot of money very quickly, which is very possible. But we kind of felt like we had a responsibility to, like, yeah, that attracted them to it, but we want to give them more. We want to give them the economics behind it. We want to explain to them why it's such a great technology, where it can go, why it has a use case beyond just the fact that Bitcoin went up 10 times and now you want to come in and try to make some money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, at first it is mostly the money part. It's
that's what they attract them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just the way it works. I don't think that'll change until Bitcoin fully stabilizes.
And I could imagine, like, for these college kids, they're probably like very open to trying to understand the tech as well as
Exactly.
Versus they have the time and also probably the attention span right now, since they're in college and study mode, that they can sit down and for a few hours and research this stuff and kind of really get to learn it. But
Exactly.
you kind of need an ambassador to lead them that way, and is that kind of what your club is trying to do?
Yeah, that's what we want to do. Basically, just want to spread the word and then spread the word in the correct way.
Yeah.
Because not only there's a lot of excitement, but there's also a lot of myths that go around about it. So even recently, just in general, you start to see a lot of the people who don't really want to see the good part of it. They're just like, oh, it's a bubble and I didn't get involved in it, so it can't be good.
Yeah.
So we want to just kind of spread the word.
So
mostly.
okay, so what are your thoughts on that exactly? Do you think it's a bubble? Or?
Yeah. I don't think we're in a bubble.
Uh-huh.
I think we're at the forefront of a new technology, and with that can come a lot of volatility, and I think with that will come a lot of volatility. Obviously, Bitcoin kind of blew up recently, and I don't think that was something that was.
Was it something that maybe Bitcoin is just undervalued and people are starting to?
I think people are starting to understand what Bitcoin is,
Uh-huh.
which obviously inherently grows the value of it.
Yeah, with a limited supply, right?
Exactly. It's
And then
going to go up.
increasing demand, it's just the laws of supply and demand.
Exactly.
Things go up.
Exactly.
But so, what would be some use cases for Bitcoin in that case?
Yeah.
Like, what? Why even? Why even buy some or?
Well, there's a few things. I mean, obviously, I think we've started to kind of get away from this, but in the beginning, it was the idea of a payment that really excited people. But I think you and I both agree.
So yeah, I mean, at the beginning, what happened was that people had all this kind of magic
Money,
internet
yeah,
money,
exactly.
and they were basically trying to figure out what it's good for.
Exactly.
And what happened was at the beginning, people said, you know what, I can use this to send a payment to someone else. At the beginning, it was a lot of illicit activity, like a lot of drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they just used it as a medium of exchange, right?
Yep.
At the beginning. And then people started realizing, wait, this is actually pretty useful for other things. Maybe like a store of value.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where I was heading.
Like, we know the rules of the system. We know it's limited in supply. We know that it's decentralized, so you can't really mess around with the ledger. So people said, wait, this is actually a really good money system.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of almost corruption-free in
Yeah.
a way, which is beautiful. Just like the beautiful side of money, which is what we don't have right now. And, the amount of people that got burned with their savings account, in 08, and their money just.
Sure. So not only that, but then you have the central banks just printing money out of thin air, and then what that does is dilute everyone's purchasing power. So $100 in 1970, the purchasing power doesn't get you what it could get in, today.
Exactly.
Right?
When I'm explaining Bitcoin to a lot of people, one of my favorite analogies is just, I could say, and just explain, and when explaining that gold is a superior currency to the US dollar, is that, however much gold it costs to build a pyramid 2,000 years ago is exactly the same amount it would cost today.
Exactly, because gold retained its purchasing power. So yeah, another analogy a lot of people use, like back in the Roman times, a nice suit, pair of nice, the latest Roman sandals, and and whatever else they had. I guess they have
Versace.
Yeah, well, that cost about an ounce of gold, all of that. And so you take that to today's terms, and what does a nice suit, a nice belt, some nice shoes cost you? Well, it costs you probably around an ounce of gold, like,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just a display on how something can maintain its purchasing
Hold its
power.
value.
Yeah, and so that's actually pretty valuable to a lot of people because, here in the United States, I feel like we've had it pretty good. We have a pretty, I don't want to say corrupt-free government. Our government's, there's definitely plenty of wrong with it, right? But
Compared to other countries.
other countries.
Absolutely.
I mean, if we look at Venezuela, Argentina, and all those places, Zimbabwe,
I think, someone sent an article the other day that was, people putting their money into cars
Yeah.
to store value, and that's horrible. I mean, you drive it off the lot and you've lost 10%.
Sure, but it's better. It's even better
it's
than
better than the currency.
Yeah, than keeping it at the bank,
Exactly.
where it could probably be confiscated, or it could be
depreciates,
diluted,
yeah.
depreciated. Exactly. So, no, absolutely. So just the idea that I can purchase something and keep, like, my $100 can go into something where I know that it can't, that whatever it went into can't be, inflated.
Yeah, exactly.
And it can't be devalued.
Yeah.
So I think that alone as a store of value, that's a use case.
I think that's the biggest use case probably. And Bitcoin's great. Bitcoin, I think ultimately will become a credible store of value, but I also think there's so much more to this world, like just blockchain in general. I think blockchain is incredible, and the blockchain's here to stay. Like companies aren't even, companies are already using that, and that's not something that's kind of being fought. But the idea of putting a currency on top of it is kind of the interesting
so
part.
the blockchain, really what it is just kind of like a database, if you could think of it like that, and then you can use a database for so many things, right? And
Absolutely.
so people are like putting title, like they were thinking about putting title, title
Escrows,
transfers,
yeah.
escrows, all types of stuff, and then you get into Ethereum and all these other things, and you you realize, wait, we can do a lot more.
You enter another world when you
Yeah.
start understanding what all these companies do.
Yeah.
And I mean, we are a ways away from most of these, coins or companies really being able to do what they want to do. But the fact that the technology is starting to get there is pretty incredible, and how quickly this all moves. I think an interesting kind of talking point is what happens to these tokens once these companies start fulfilling, what they say they can do.
Yeah. Well, so let me ask you something. So there's a lot of token projects, a lot of coins out there. Like, I think if you go on CoinMarketCap or something like that, you see thousands. Yeah. What is what do you see happening here? Do you see a lot of these things just failing? Because this ICO craze was kind of crazy, right? I mean, it was people just creating tokens
out of thin air.
Yeah, and then trying
out of ideas.
Yeah, just ideas, no prototype, and then not only that, but in a lot of things, you could look at it and say, "Well, I don't even know why you need a token, to do that." But they were just using it as a
way to make money.
Yeah.
It's a way to fund.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant way. I mean, it's incredible. You can, as a normal citizen, middle class citizen, you can now invest in a private company.
Sure.
And
Or you could even
amazing.
invest in a person, right? Because you can create a token. You can create the Brandon Lozano beach volleyball lesson token, and each token represent a volleyball lesson.
Exactly.
And then you can sell those lessons for $10. And if people really want your services, and they got to go out to the open market,
It keeps going up. The demand goes up.
Exactly. Demand goes up. Limited supply. That's pretty interesting.
Absolutely. But I mean, in the long run, I don't see used tokens being too valuable. I think most of them will end up being sort of worthless.
Yeah.
I just, I don't think you need. I don't need a McDonald's token to go buy McDonald's, or I don't need a Best Buy token to go buy something at Best Buy. It doesn't really make too much sense. I think we're never going to enter a world where we have 1,000 currencies.
Sure. What about as reward points, though? Wouldn't it be cool, if we use tokens as reward points, and then we could essentially, because the rewards that I get at CVS right now, I can't transfer them, and I can't.
So what if you could put those in the open market?
Exactly. What if there's decentralized exchanges that allow you to sell your rewards?
Yeah, I think that's way different. I think that already works today.
Yeah.
That CVS example was the first time I really said to myself, wow, tokens do have a bit of a use case. Maybe not the way that people say right now, but they definitely do have a use case in the future. And I think that the sort of the reward aspect and the gaming aspect are two areas where tokens already have a lot of value.
Yeah, for sure, because in a game essentially is like a separate world, right? It's like it's another universe where you can create, you can have a token represent money, and if people enjoy playing that game and participating in your fantasy world, that money is actually gonna create a demand.
Yeah, and it has value.
And it has value all of a sudden because I can buy a magical sword and
what
kill.
If you can transfer that outside the game now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's happening, though. I know there's all these basically, these crypto or these gaming companies looking at crypto as a way to, create these kind of
for sure
mini economies. Yeah,
absolutely. And it also helps the company because now that it doesn't have a stuck value.
Yeah.
That coin. We actually just in school in my marketing class we had to do a way to create a marketing plan for League of Legends, which is I didn't really know much about it beforehand, but it turns out it's the biggest game in the world. It's a PC game, and they actually have their complete own token environment, where you can.
Is this on a blockchain, or
no,
is it on
it's
a central server?
Yeah, just on a central server. But you realize how simple it could be if it was on a blockchain, and how much easier the whole process would be.
Wow.
So I thought it was really cool. Yeah.
Cool. So, with that said, where do you think all of this is going? I mean, do you see, okay, so 2017 was absolutely crazy, right? You had Ethereum at $7, now it's at 700.
Yep.
That's 100x.
Look at the market cap.
And then Litecoin at the beginning of the year was $3. Now it just hit 400 yesterday or something like that.
Yep.
So to me, I see a lot of speculative. So, all right, I guess let me take a second here and break it down. Honestly, I think that something can be undervalued, and but I also believe that there can be kind of mini bubbles along that way of price discovery. You know, so I do think we're kind of in a speculative bubble. When I'm getting hit up, I mean, by people who I haven't talked to in years from high school, and I do believe that there's a little bit of a frenzy, and they're getting in and they're not knowing why they get in, and so what happens is that they don't have the fundamental mindset to hold on as a long-term investor.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and they just want to do a quick flip, so they get in and they run the price up higher than it really should be, but ultimately the trajectory.
It'll still get there.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
just gets there too quickly with the wrong people.
And so you get a correction.
Exactly, and that's the most important thing I see whenever somebody asks me to even explain, or the most common one, how can I make some quick money? What are some interesting coins that are undervalued? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I'm going to sit you down for an hour or two, and I'm going to explain to you why this even exists.
Exactly.
Because once you get that, then they get interested and do their own research.
Exactly.
And because I'm not in the business of telling you, go buy this token, it's going to go up.
You're not like a financial advisor, right?
That's not.
This is an investment advice.
Exactly.
By the way, none of this is investment advice.
No, don't do what I say. But yeah, no, I think for me, that's like the most, because when you get these, when I have my Lyft driver telling me that, I need to get in an Ethereum, it's like, all right, that's interesting. But then it's the fact that all these people who are not just uneducated, but just come in for the wrong reasons, they buy high and they sell low. And then once you start panic selling, the market, it corrects. It has to correct. It has no choice. And then you lose your stomach and you get out. And then the whole process repeats itself.
Yeah, so have you, so you've ridden this roller coaster a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So has
6
your
months
stomach
has been kind of crazy.
Has your stomach been hardened? Have you seen
a little bit? Yeah. So at the beginning, I got in when it was going up. So it was like, the coins in comparison to BTC were insane. They were just ripping, making so much money, and then it just kind of went into a full bear market out of nowhere, and Bitcoin was still rising.
So what happened? I guess alt season ended, and then so the Bitcoin bear woke up and started.
Exactly. And then it was with the few investments I had, just all went 50% in negative, within weeks, and it's like, what do I do? Do you keep your money in here where you have faith in the company, or do you move it all into Bitcoin? So it's but I mean, even in 3 weeks ago, Bitcoin went down from like 9K to 5K.
Yeah, and that was the whole Bitcoin cash
debacle. Yeah.
So cool. Let's talk about that. So I mean, obviously, this year was unprecedented in the sense that we have like a Bitcoin hard fork that actually has legs and traction.
Yes.
And now, so we kind of split the ledger. I mean, this has been done before, but not to the degree and not to the amount of backing that Bitcoin
and the
Cash.
guys that did it had a lot of power.
Sure, and exactly, and they were one of the primary people who first got involved with Bitcoin and growing the ecosystem and creating companies, and they had a certain vision for Bitcoin, and I guess that vision deferred from the group of developers who are running core, so they created Bitcoin Cash.
Yep.
Right, a separate implementation, but they copied the ledger. So if you had Bitcoin,
which is the great part of Bitcoin.
Yeah. If you had Bitcoin, now you have Bitcoin Cash.
Yep.
Okay. So that's where we're at. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fundamental difference in what people think the value of Bitcoin is at this time.
Like what the value propositions are?
Yeah. So I think you have the idea that Bitcoin is going to be a store of value, and it's going to be a store of value for a while. And then you have the idea that Bitcoin was meant to be built as a payment system. And I don't think there's a right or wrong side. I do think there's a time for each, and I think the payment system is early. I don't think anybody wants to get rid of Bitcoin right now. It doesn't really make much sense. You don't really want to get rid of something that has so much room to grow. If you would have bought something at 5K, when Bitcoin was at 5K, you just lost out on, tripling your money.
Yeah, like what's the incentive to sell when I know it's undervalued?
Exactly. Okay. So, but it seems like Roger Ver and these guys were just pushing that side a little bit. And they did it, in my opinion, in a way that wasn't fully ethical, and just the fact they didn't have consensus. But ultimately, the one that has the most network effect is going to win out.
Yeah.
I think. But
so, I think, I'm not a developer. I don't have I think the idea that you can fork Bitcoin and kind of try something different, I think it's a benefit.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and so
it's going to create the best Bitcoin possible.
Exactly. So what happens is that you fork Bitcoin, and now you're able to try something different. And I think competition is great, and like it allows people who are frustrated and pent up with the current current rules or circumstances of Bitcoin to now break free.
You can do it.
Yeah. And so what we realized, just that breakup itself creates value, because Bitcoin, let's just say Bitcoin was $5,000 during the split, and next thing you know, they split and Bitcoin is now worth $4,500 and Bitcoin Cash is worth $1,000. That's a net increase in $500, right? Just from them splitting. So
exactly.
I think there's value in unleashing creative processes.
Yeah.
And so Bitcoin now forking and people trying different things with the Bitcoin fork, I think all you have to do really is just hold on to those fork coins, you know.
Yeah.
Unless you have a strong opinion about it, right? Unless you
yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, because even if you don't fully agree, there's no one knows what the Bitcoin of the future is going to be.
Yeah.
It could, because I mean, obviously Bitcoin has some flaws and block size debate and all that stuff. But
sure, when it costs like $30 to send a transaction.
Yeah, I'm not going to go buy a cup of coffee and pay a $15 fee.
But not only that, but you buy $30 worth of Bitcoin and then to send it costs you $30. You just lost out 100% of your money.
Exactly.
So there's obviously problems with Bitcoin, but the idea is that those problems get ironed out as the technology evolves. Like maybe the price is, maybe the price is a little bit more than where it should be based on where the technology is. But the idea is that these problems will get ironed out. There's like layer 2 solutions like Lightning Network where we're going to be able to send micro. Great, So, but
I think the forks, and maybe they even tell us, what needs to change, or Bitcoin Core, like what it needs to work on quicker, or what because there obviously is demand for this payment side.
Yeah,
it's something that is going to have to be a part of Bitcoin at some point.
Yeah,
but it's just a matter of how quickly you get
there.
So,
I was, making Bitcoin transactions when there wasn't a fee,
That's
or
incredible.
the fee was very minimal, and it's a way different feeling than making a Bitcoin transaction now. So even though I don't like Roger Ver's tactics, and I think that a lot of what he's doing is kind of manipulative and kind of a little also deceptive, like, and I'll just give you one example real quick. The fact that you go to bitcoin.com, which is his website, and you download a Bitcoin wallet, and it's a Bitcoin Cash wallet. So people are ending up sending Bitcoin
they
to
think that's Bitcoin.
Yeah. So, these tactics I don't agree with, but, the fact that, hey, man, there's a different vision out there, or there's a different idea of how Bitcoin can work, and I'm going to go try it. I think that's great.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and that's how it's going to grow. That's how everything eventually grows, and that's actually the beauty of crypto, because you don't have
it's a decentralized
centralized person telling you exactly the way it has to work.
Exactly.
There's no Fed. So.
Yeah. Which is great too. I mean, now like we all know the rules of the game. Like imagine.
Exactly. It's all laid out for you.
Yeah. So we know there's 21 million coins. We know that the ledger is distributed.
Yeah, it's decentralized, and it's great.
Cool.
Oh, exactly. It's almost like I was talking to someone the other day. It's like the way a society should be run with laws. Like it's the way it should work. It's all there's no central authority with biases and all of that nonsense.
That can be corrupted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So no, it's great.
So, how about from a humanitarian perspective? Where do you see like Bitcoin taking humanity or cryptocurrencies in general? Let's get like more into like the future sci-fi world or whatever you think is going to happen. Like, do you have any ideas about that?
Sure. I mean, I think that overall it's a net benefit. I think just the fact that all this. So, for example, the money that's being made right now isn't being made by the top 2%, like it would be in the normal economic world we live in right now. It's being made by normal people. You and I and people our friends who just happen to put a few.
Oh, are you talking about the gains in crypto?
Yeah. I'm just saying like that. Like just it gives it to everybody. You know,
it
kind of spreads the wealth, which is great. It also educates a lot. I think it informs people, but it also forces people just to do a little research of their own on why is money valuable. Where does the value of money come from? What's going on with my money right now that's sitting in my savings account?
Yeah, absolutely. I've never heard more people talk about the Federal Reserve, right? So I used to be out protesting the Federal Reserve, chanting with my sign, and to hear people now all of a sudden like it become a household name, and like they're like, yeah, man.
Videos on Facebook.
Yeah, and they're like, I got all this shitty fiat, man. I need to get some Bitcoin. Like, what the hell's just happening to my world?
Fiat, I thought we were talking about the Italian car.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, so it's cool because Bitcoin provides you a financial incentive to really understand, what money is. And I mean, this is something like Ron Paul was trying to do, and all these people through a political movement. So was I. But I mean, there's nothing better than saying, hey, you know what? If you come to realize these ideas, if you come to study them and
on your own too,
on your own.
Yeah.
And then you just, all you have to do is join the network by buying some Bitcoin and holding on to it. You're going to be well off. And the sooner you come to realize the value of Bitcoin through understanding these principles, the more potential rewards you can get.
Exactly.
And it's cool because Bitcoin is kind of like a reverse. So what happens is that when there's a startup, right, people invest in the startup. and then they take a share ownership.
Yeah, but who's investing in it?
Exactly. It's a handful of people, 3 or 4 or 5 maybe, you know, and then maybe it's a hedge fund or I don't, you know.
Exactly.
Basically, and so that all the growth that happened, all the growth that happened with Facebook, that network expanding like, to billions of people, all of the financial,
it went to those 5 people.
Yeah, it went to these, let's just say a handful of people, you know, where Bitcoin says, no, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this network, and instead of keeping it under the control of a central entity and having that central entity reap all the rewards, what we're gonna do is we're gonna disperse ownership of the network, and that ownership is represented in Bitcoin.
It's beautiful.
And holding the private keys to your Bitcoin, and as the network grows, it's Metcalfe's law, right? Like the more nodes in the network, the more valuable that network becomes.
Yeah, it's like an inherent. It grows because it is what it is.
Exactly. It's almost like an organism, like a I don't know, man. I think of it like a virus that's spreading, but it's more of a like, I don't know, it's this organism that's just growing and taking over, and
it's
like,
incredible.
Yeah, you try to cut off the head, right? Then another head grows. You try to cut off the leg, another leg grows. Or if there's an attack, so for instance, Andreas the other day. This is the other cool thing about Bitcoin. Do you know what happened with Andreas?
No, I don't.
Like how he was kind of like ridiculed by Roger.
Oh yeah, and then all of a sudden he's a millionaire.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to tell a story real quick about.
Yeah, I just know it briefly, but basically, you know, Andreas is this awesome guy who's just been spreading, you know, the benefits and even from the humanitarian side too. Just a really good guy, just spreading info about Bitcoin. Just in an effort to help people, and it's always valuable, and you should definitely check out his videos.
Yo, check out Andreas's videos.
And the way he speaks is just polarizing guy. But basically Roger Ver was sort of taunting him for not being a millionaire.
Yeah.
And within, what, a day? How much Bitcoin did he get sent?
So he's definitely a millionaire now, right? So I think he received $1.5 million worth of Bitcoin in a day from donations all across the world of people sending him money. And so it's kind of like this, like I say, when I think of Bitcoin as an organism that kind of self-heals itself, as soon as so Andreas is a big part of this organism. He's like
big reason it grew.
Big reason it grew. And so what happens is when he gets attacked, the network kind of like rallies around it and like, you know, mends that wound. And supports that. So, you know, when I think about that and I start thinking about, wow, how Bitcoin is kind of like an infectious idea that it kind of spreads itself, because now since we're part of this network, we're all incentivized to go out there and tell people about, you know, how great Bitcoin is as a store of value or as a payment system and stuff like that.
And that's sort of the key too, is that you want these, you know, the people that are mending these wounds and come in to support these, you know, when this stuff happens isn't the people that are in it for quick gains. It's the people that understand the you know, the value behind it and why they're in it in the first place.
Sure, and the potential impact it could have on the world. I mean,
exactly. Once you start getting more of those people investing, which is what we're getting right now, you know, sure, you get the people that open a Coinbase account and buy $100 of Bitcoin, just want it to go up. But by owning just that little bit of Bitcoin, you start to learn about it. And you start to understand why it's great. You start to understand, you know, how it could not just benefit you, but benefit everybody. Yeah. And, you know, I think that's just
sure, because
I mean, educated.
It you know, unshackles a lot of people from this monetary and debt-based, you know, slavery system, basically. You know, like, you know, you graduate from college, you're $70,000 in debt, and then you got to go make money. You got to go make money to pay off that debt, but this money is constantly depreciating, and so you never get ahead, right? Because you're paying off your debt, and then when you save, whatever money you save gets depreciated. So it's like a perpetual rat race. And so, like, Bitcoin comes along and says, hey, you know what? Here's a system that you can't mess with, that can't be devalued, that, you know, you know, this many Bitcoins will ever exist and stuff like that. And so it gives people just something to cling on to that's like
transparency.
Yeah, there's transparency. There's also like this idea that it's a rock solid like system because of its decentralized nature, that I can put money in this and know that,
and trust it.
Yeah, and trust that it's going to be there, or, you know, or it's going to be the same system in 5, 10.
Yeah, and the value can change.
Yeah,
but you're still getting the same net benefits.
You're still getting the same percentage of that network. You know,
exactly.
And so yeah, I mean, for people in Venezuela, Argentina, Zimbabwe, and even, you know, maybe the rest of the world, as central banks continue to inflate our currencies, maybe you're going to find more and more people clinging on to you know, these safe havens.
Exactly. Yeah, they cling on not to the price. They cling on to what it offers.
Yeah,
which is incredible.
Yeah.
And that's super cool because once people start to understand that, that's when I think, it almost gets out of control.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
the impact it can have.
And I love talking about this concept because I just think it's such a fascinating concept because we've never seen anything like this in the world. But if you go to Nakamoto Institute, they have a paper on hyper Bitcoinization, and that's what basically you're alluding to, is the fact that when this idea spreads, and it spreads like wildfire, right? Because right now the amount of interest is compounding every day. Like maybe somebody watches our podcast, does their research, then comes back, does their podcast. So 5 of their friends watch that podcast.
Exactly.
They do research. So it's kind of like a compounding effect, right? Like a exponential growth curve.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You start getting that K curve.
Exactly.
No, it's great. I mean, but that's super exciting too, just because if that were to happen, the amount of people that impacts is so big. Because for hyper Bitcoinization to happen, you're gonna have so many people owning it. It becomes normal. And then you can't even imagine what the price would be when that happens.
What do you think?
What do you think, the price, or I think how it'll go?
Yeah, so price is cool because
it's more tangible, but
yeah,
that's not.
Sure, but like I'm curious though, because let's just talk about price, because money is important, right? Like this is how we all interact with each other through our lives. So, money can provide a lot of opportunities. So what do you think?
Yeah, so I think depends on sort of the path it takes, but just even if it becomes the savings account for a lot of people, I mean, you're talking, $100,000 price. If it becomes gold, you're talking 500, $1 million price. And there's valuations on this. People have done the math and stuff like that. But just for me, what's kind of amazing is looking at how much it's grown in the last, I don't know, what would you say, 3 weeks, almost doubling in price.
Crazy. And
that's from what? Like, that's not from big banks coming in and throwing their money in it. That's not from this massive change in society. That's from people just like, oh, it was on the big bank theory and my friend made some money.
So like retail investors basically coming into the space. Yeah.
And it went up that much?
Yeah.
I mean, think about what happens when banks start coming in.
Yeah, like hedge funds and so for instance, there's a ton of money. So there's a ton of money in offshore tax haven accounts, trillions of dollars, right?
Yep.
Then you got Wall Street, right? With their 401ks, with their pension plans, with all of that, right?
Yeah.
And then you got mutual funds and you got, all this huge institutional money, right? That's on the demand side. And then you have Bitcoin that's held by strong ideological hands, right?
Yep.
And people who know that it's undervalued on the supply side. And so it's just, you do the math. I mean, it doesn't.
They just need that bridge to get on.
Yeah.
And they're starting to get it.
Yeah, so exactly. So for institutional money to come into Bitcoin, they need a bridge. So basically a regulated avenue to enter the Bitcoin space. And that bridge is being built, right? And so there's that Novakratz guy.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
I love him.
Man crush. I got a man crush.
Me too.
Yeah. But so there's a Novakratz guy, and he keeps on talking about it's coming. He's like, the herd is coming.
Yeah, he's on the side that it's coming soon too.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Which is super. I mean, which I can see. It's not like this out of the this craziness that people are just spewing. It's stuff that like these returns have happened before. Like these percentage gains have happened before, and we haven't seen anything close to Wall Street coming in and putting in money. And when that starts to happen, it's just.
I see people.
Quick.
Yeah, I see people, and they're like, this is impossible. This can't happen. This amount of growth, this rate of return. This is obviously it's a bubble. Obviously it's a Ponzi scheme. Obviously whatever kind of whatever they use to describe Bitcoin, and but I just want to say these returns happen. They just don't happen to normal people, right? They happen behind closed doors. Again, I just want to reiterate that. So Facebook...
And that's so important.
Yeah. So Facebook went from a company basically started in Mark Zuckerberg's dorm to, I don't know how much it is now, $400 billion, right? And then I think Facebook's 11 years old or something like that.
Yep. Yeah, 04 or something.
So remember, from an idea to 400 billion. And if you look at Bitcoin, it went from an idea, right?
Yeah.
To where it's at right now, 300 billion in 9 years. Okay, so it's, this growth happens.
But when could you and I buy into a Facebook share?
at its inception, right?
Exactly.
You can't. So,
Exactly.
but that's what Bitcoin did.
So Bitcoin allows for you to do.
Yeah,
You don't
it's
have to wait for it to go public
Exactly.
and be this massive company.
So it allows you to take risk based on the idea, based on how you perceive its value. So if so if you say, wow, this is really undervalued, I want to take some risk here. I'll put $1,000 in.
But what is it? But that's the thing. You can put in $1,000 and that be your risk.
Sure.
To make 100,000 as compared to I want to put 50,000 in the stock market in a hope that I get to 75.
Exactly.
And it's like, so
The
then
risk
you
to
look at it
reward
and you're like,
ratio.
the risk reward ratio makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Put it anywhere in the crypto market than to go put it in anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that this eventually becomes like the millennial savings account, like
For sure.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then, who knows how the future unfolds, whether we use Litecoin to transact or whether it's Bcash or whether it's layer 2 Lightning Network or whether it's something that we haven't even thought of, but like I just think that would be solved. But I think the idea that you can buy whatever Bitcoin you want, so $10, $20, $30, $100, right? Because Bitcoin can be infinitely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The fact you can cut it so many times.
Yeah, it can be like almost infinitely divisible. I mean, it's there at like the 8th decimal point right now, but I think that, if there's consensus and that's
They can continue.
Yeah. So, but I don't think you can do that with stock shares. I think you got to buy the whole share.
Yeah.
Or a mutual fund or
what
something.
What is it? Berkshire Hathaway, I think
Yeah.
Warren Buffett's fund, it's $10,000 to buy one share.
Okay, and you have to buy the whole
You
share?
have to buy the share.
So that's the difference between crypto. So crypto is easy for people. Hey, yeah, I'll just throw $20 into my Bitcoin savings account.
Yeah.
Versus like, if you want to buy a Berkshire Hathaway share, you got to have a whole $10,000.
Yeah.
I might be mistaken on that.
No,
I don't know.
I'm 90% sure that's the case.
Okay.
Which is what attracts people to this. It's just easy to get in on like this excitement.
Sure, like it doesn't, and
no
you don't
barrier to entry.
For real, you don't have to go through a hedge fund. I'm talking about like a stock brokerage.
Yeah.
You don't have. You got to go through Coinbase maybe, or you can buy Bitcoin from like local Bitcoins. You can meet up with people and give them cash and
go to you.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you know.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's definitely something we've never seen before.
Cool, man.
And I think that's also like why ICOs are just like, people are so attracted to them because
They're gains.
dude, you can, these like 10x gains are not something that you just like say, like, oh yeah, they're gonna make, like, it happens pretty frequently and sometimes overnight.
Yeah.
Like these, if you hold on to them and just like, a lot of it is just believing in the idea behind it, but it's pretty remarkable. And, just the ability to invest in something at its infancy as a normal middle class person, just putting that as like part of your savings account portfolio is.
Sure, and the other very interesting thing about Bitcoin is that it's one of these non-correlated assets, meaning that if the stock market goes down, Bitcoin doesn't necessarily go down. It either remains there, it goes up, right?
Yeah, negatively correlated.
And yeah, exactly. So, that's very attractive to fund managers, around the world.
Well, that's perfect for diversifying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, well, you know what? I got all these assets that are pretty correlated in price movement. I want to add some. I want to mitigate some of that risk.
Yep.
Where am I going to go? And then you look at what are kind of the best assets for mitigating that risk. You go, oh wait, there's Bitcoin, and there's Bitcoin, or there's gold, or there's this. But gold and silver, they're not on any type of trend right now.
When's the last time those moved?
Yeah, exactly. So you're saying, wow, let me take 1% of my fund.
1%.
1 or 10%,
Yeah.
So yeah, I heard Novacrat saying anywhere from 1% to 10%. And just imagine if this is happening, because Bitcoin is a global phenomenon, right?
Exactly.
So, and we got trillions and trillions of dollars out there, and 1% to 10% moving into Bitcoin. It doesn't, and that's the other thing. It doesn't matter what the price is. They just want to put $100,000 in there. They don't care.
Somewhere else.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Bitcoin can absorb that. It's saying, okay, yeah, you can give me $100,000. You can put it in here, and like, I guess what I mean by absorb it is like it still provides the same function. It's still the same $100,000.
It's always going to be the same $100,000.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like you have the same portion.
Yeah, exactly.
When it starts, it doesn't matter if it tanks or if it goes up.
Yeah.
That was a thread that.
Sure, that Ari, I think his name's Ari Paul. It's a great thread. Maybe I'll throw a link here at the description.
Do that for sure.
Check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Cool. Yeah.
Anything else?
Not too much. Just
Yeah?
I'm just excited.
Are you on Twitter?
I'm just really excited. Yeah. Brandon BVB. It's my Twitter. That's my everything. So
Okay. And are you doing anything in the crypto space besides the crypto fund? Or not that crypto fund, but the Crypto club.
Yeah. So I do have a small fund where trade a little bit, and I just the great part is the fact that like I have the ability to do that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
There's no like you don't need a
license. You don't need a brokerage. You don't need doesn't have to be a ton of money. It doesn't. You know. You still have the ability to just to have these returns that are insane. And you know, one of the other things that I think is really cool about this whole world or ecosystem is that everybody's so accessible.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everybody just wants to like see this whole thing grow, and you know, the people you meet and the opportunities you have, especially like when you're young and you know, some of my age, there's so much opportunity out there in this arena right now. It's like you know, it's like being super interested in the internet in like 96, 97.
A little different though. I think the impact is going to be a lot bigger because
I
now
do think the impact will be bigger, but I'm just saying like the fact that like you're that ahead of the curve and there's so much opportunity.
Yeah, like it's an emerging industry right now, and it's like you can be anyone right now in this industry,
exactly.
right? Like, I mean, I'm a blockchain expert or something like that. Or I gotta.
Dude, I'm taking a blockchain class next semester. Like that is incredible.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm so excited for that. Just like.
That's crazy. So they're offering that at USC.
It's a full blockchain class. Yeah. It's more like the technical side too, which is incredible. And it's cool because it's attracting a lot of business students too.
Yeah.
So you know, and in order for a business person to succeed, you're gonna have to understand the underlying sort of effects of what it can do and why it does what it does.
And also, I mean, dude, I don't even. Okay, let me get my thought together. But like, I just see it as inevitable that blockchain kind of eats the world and software eats the world, and so, and like, what I'm saying is it kind of spreads, right? And it's like there's no denying that you have to use this to participate in this new world, right? And so, like, companies right now, they better be taking a good look at how blockchain is going to affect their business, you know?
And I think they are.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, we had people, we had a talk at USC, they had like a blockchain night, actually. They had like a whole night on technology, and I mean, a whole week on technology, and one of them was specifically for blockchain. And you know, a few of the guys from the science incubator came in, but they had another guy, a professor at USC actually, who does more the supply chain, global supply chain, and he was talking about the impact of blockchain in a global supply chain, which is totally just like, you know, product moving. It has nothing to do with, you know, cryptos or
finance.
It has no, it's not fintech. It has no like cloud usage really, but just the fact that they could put all of their like inventory and everything like that on the blockchain was like, to him, he's like, I'm telling you, this is like monumental. And that for me was like, oh, another avenue. You know what I mean? That you would never expect.
Yeah.
And it spreads everywhere.
Another one, Power Ledger, right?
Power's incredible.
Where it's like you're trying to use a blockchain to distribute power and come up with the cheapest, efficient, I guess, price. I'm not 100% how that works, but I just found it interesting coming from the power industry, and knowing that, you know, there are like these markets out there where how power companies buy and sell power to each other and stuff like that. But all of that, right? Those market makers and those people at the trading desks, they might just be replaced by like decentralized, autonomous, you know, applications that are, you know, doing these transactions with each other using the blockchain.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, if you haven't really, if you just go on whatever coin market cap and you just pick like 5 or 10 coins, and you just look at what they do. Yeah. It is amazing. Like,
or what they're trying to do.
What they're very important point. What they're trying to do is incredible. Like, you know, talk anything from you know, distributing data on you know, for phones. Like, you don't have to buy data from a phone company anymore. You can buy it from someone who has extra data.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, stuff like that. It's just it's
so there's
identity
Filecoin
stuff.
Yeah, there's identity stuff. There's Filecoin, which is gonna allow, like, I guess you to store files. It's a system to, you know what? Look up Filecoin, look up what it does. But it's just another remarkable thing. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that almost all of these industries right now can benefit from the blockchain, or be put on the blockchain, or have some kind of.
What I'm more thinking about for companies right now is like, hey, you better be taking a look at the blockchain before it basically makes your line of work obsolete, and right, like so, like if I was
accountant,
like if I was Kodak, I would have been looking at, you know, digital photography and trying to figure out how we can absorb this into our business model versus
Blockbuster and Netflix.
Exactly. So it's going to put a lot of businesses out of
Yeah,
business.
a lot of full occupations.
Yeah.
That just, I forget.
You know what? I wonder, man. I wonder if this happens so fast because that, it's good. You know, I don't know how all this is going to be evolve. But if it happens fast and like, because skills take a time to develop. So what happens when it disenfranchise all these workers and they're out of jobs?
And there's a gap.
Yeah.
We already have a gap. Imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I think it's even the fact that I'm taking like a blockchain class is really cool.
Yeah. Like the world needs to catch up.
Yeah. Like
because this is going to happen fast.
Instead of
I
like
think.
computer science, it's gonna be like blockchain.
Yeah.
You know, that's gonna be what you want to study in school. But yeah. I mean, I think it's gonna be something really big.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can really deny that either. Like I think if you go to most people, they'll actually, and you explain the concept to them, most of them will agree. Like, it really should become. The currency side is a little different, but the blockchain side is incredible.
Yeah.
So.
Cool, man. So I tried to end it earlier, but we kept on going on another. Just before I do, anything else?
No.
Can you think of? I had a great conversation though. This was great talking blockchain
this is
stuff.
great all the time. I love doing this.
Do you find more and more people
Yeah, I'm
talking about blockchain? Like before, when I got involved, it was very hard for me to find people.
Oh, I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Mike also like created his own community of people he could talk to. He's
Yeah,
like, I'm
yeah.
gonna teach you about it.
Yeah.
Give it 3 or 4 months, and now we can have conversation.
Exactly.
Which is great. No, I mean, I can. So what I've kind of like witnessed or experienced is, it's gone from not really knowing anything about it to people knowing what it is but not understanding how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of people will form opinions that aren't really based on a lot of research or thought or anything like that. But dude, just the fact that people even know about it right now is great. The fact that people want to buy it is awesome, because like we were speaking of earlier, like it inherently makes you learn about some things that you really need to learn about. And the more you talk about it, the more you work through it, the more you just research, the more ideas. Because one of the things that I noticed is in the beginning was a lot of me just reading and reading and reading and maybe not absorbing as much, or absorbing a little bit. And then after a few months, you start to realize, like, you start to come up with ideas on how it works, or ideas on how I can implement that into what I do. And that's where you start to see like this growth. It's really cool.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll have you back on.
Absolutely.
This is CryptoTraveler episode 2, so maybe we'll have you on sometime. You come on whenever you want. I can talk about this stuff all the time.
I can talk about it all the time too. I'm more than willing.
Okay, cool. When do you go back to LA?
I go back to school the 8th, January 8th.
Okay,
So I got a nice little break. We'll be on the beach a lot, hanging out.
All right.
I'm sure we'll have these conversations non-taped too.
Yeah. All right, B. Well, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, cool.
What is that?